Most people believe they make their own choices, but rarely ask who or what is doing the choosing. We navigate our lives guided by what we think we know about ourselves. But what if the most profound influences on our thoughts, feelings, and why we do what we do lie hidden, deep within an unconscious mind far vaster, far more ancient than we ever imagined? This is the story of a man who dared to map that hidden territory, a pioneer who broke ranks with the very father of psychoanalysis. Welcome to our real psychology documentary, Carl Jung, the rebellious psychologist who challenged Freud. In this exploration, we delve into his revolutionary ideas about Carl Jung's groundbreaking theories, which forever changed our understanding of human behavior and identity, and the quest for self-awareness and transformation. Our journey is one of intellectual courage and profound self-discovery, venturing into the realms of dreams, myths, and the very essence of what it means to be human. This is Depth Psychology Explained, a quest for those emotional intelligence lessons embedded in the human story. If the search for deeper understanding and the mysteries of the unconscious mind explained speak to you, subscribe and activate your notifications. The questions we explore here have the power to reshape how you see yourself and the world. Our story begins not in the hallowed halls of established academia, but in the quiet, pastoral landscape of Switzerland. Carl Gustav Jung was born on July 26, 1875, in Keswil, a small village on the shores of Lake Constance. His early life was a tapestry woven with threads of solitude, intense inner experiences, and a burgeoning fascination with the unseen forces that shape human existence. His father, Paul Jung, was a country parson, a man of faith, yet one whose own spiritual struggles perhaps cast a long shadow. His mother, Emily Preiswerk Jung, was a more enigmatic figure, prone to bouts of depression and claiming contact with spirits in the night. These early encounters with the complexities of faith, mental instability, and the numinous world sowed the fertile ground for Jung's later explorations into the psyche. Young Carl Jung was often a solitary child, finding companionship more readily in his own imagination than with his peers. He was acutely sensitive to the emotional currents around him, observing the adults in his life with an almost unnerving perceptiveness. He famously carved a small mannequin into the end of a wooden ruler, dressed it, and kept it hidden in the attic, complete with its own tiny scroll of writings. This secret companion, this other self, was perhaps an early intimation of his later theories on the multifaceted nature of personality and the importance of an inner life. His childhood wasn't merely introspective, it was intellectually voracious. He devoured books on philosophy, history, and crucially, mythology. The grand, sweeping narratives of gods and heroes, of epic struggles and profound transformations, resonated deeply within him. He sensed that these ancient stories were not mere fables, but potent containers of timeless human truths, expressions of an underlying psychological reality. This early immersion in symbolism and mythology would become a cornerstone of his analytical psychology. He recalled a pivotal dream from his early childhood, a vision of a subterranean phallic deity throned in darkness. This potent, somewhat terrifying image, he later understood, was an early glimpse into the collective unconscious, a realm of primal imagery and archetypes that lay beyond personal experience. It was a whisper from a deeper, older part of the human spirit. This innate curiosity about the inner world, the night side of life as he sometimes called it, naturally led him towards medicine. He initially considered archaeology or philology, but a medical textbook's description of psychoses as diseases of the personality struck him with the force of revelation. Here was a field that could potentially bridge his fascination with the human spirit and the rigors of scientific inquiry. He enrolled at the University of Basel, his path veering towards psychiatry, a discipline still in its infancy, struggling to understand the bewildering landscape of the human mind. His doctoral dissertation in 1902 on the psychology and pathology of so-called occult phenomena, based on seances conducted with his cousin Hélène Preiswerk, demonstrated his willingness to explore unconventional subjects. He wasn't afraid to peer into the shadows, to investigate phenomena that mainstream science often dismissed. This boldness, this willingness to engage with the irrational and the symbolic, set him apart even then. It was the mark of a mind destined, not just to follow, but to lead, and inevitably to challenge. The intellectual currents of the time were electric. The old certainties were crumbling, and new ideas about humanity's place in the universe were emerging. And in Vienna, another revolutionary mind was already sending shockwaves through the established order: Sigmund Freud. The stage was being set for one of the most significant encounters and eventual ruptures in the history of psychology. Carl Jung was on a trajectory that would bring him face to face with the man who had single-handedly charted the first map of the unconscious mind. But Jung, even then, was carrying the seeds of his own distinct vision, a vision that would eventually lead him to question the very foundations laid by his future mentor. The year is 1900. Sigmund Freud's groundbreaking work, The Interpretation of Dreams, has just been published, sending ripples of astonishment and controversy across the intellectual landscape. Freud, the Viennese neurologist, was daring to suggest that our dreams, those nightly phantasmagorias, were not random nonsense but coded messages from a hidden part of ourselves, the unconscious mind. He proposed that this realm was a cauldron of repressed desires, primal urges, and forgotten memories, primarily sexual in nature, shaping our waking lives in ways we barely comprehended. Carl Jung, then a young psychiatrist working at the Burghölzli clinic in Zurich under the esteemed Eugène Bleuler, was captivated. He had independently been exploring word association tests, noticing how delays or unusual responses could indicate underlying emotional complexes, clusters of ideas and feelings centered around a core theme. This resonated deeply with Freud's ideas about repression. In Freud's work, Jung found a theoretical framework that seemed to illuminate his own clinical observations, offering a new, radical way to understand human behavior and identity. The fateful meeting occurred in Vienna on February 27, 1907. When Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud finally sat down to talk, it was an encounter of monumental intellectual electricity. Legend has it, they spoke for 13 hours straight, an almost unbroken torrent of ideas, theories, and clinical insights. Freud, nearly 20 years Jung's senior, saw in the brilliant, energetic Swiss psychiatrist a kindred spirit, an intellectual heir, the crown prince who could carry the banner of psychoanalysis forward, particularly beyond its predominantly Jewish Viennese circle. For a time, their collaboration was incredibly fertile. Jung became a passionate advocate for psychoanalysis, defending Freud's often maligned theories and applying them in his own practice. He was a key figure in the burgeoning psychoanalytic movement, president of the International Psychoanalytical Association. The bond between them was, for a while, profound, a mixture of father-son dynamic and intense intellectual partnership. They exchanged hundreds of letters, dissecting cases, debating concepts, and pushing the boundaries of this new science of the mind. But even in these early days of fervent collaboration, subtle fissures began to appear. While Jung embraced Freud's concept of the unconscious, his own clinical experiences and his deep immersion in mythology and world religions were leading him to a different understanding of its nature and content. Freud's emphasis on sexuality as the primary driving force of the psyche, the libido, felt increasingly restrictive to Jung. He began to conceive of libido not just as sexual energy, but as a more generalized psychic energy, a fundamental life force that could manifest in numerous ways. Creativity, spirituality, intellectual curiosity. This was a crucial point of divergence, a fundamental disagreement on why we do what we do. Furthermore, Jung was increasingly struck by the recurrence of certain themes, symbols, and figures in the dreams and fantasies of his patients. Images that seemed to transcend their personal experiences, echoing myths and legends from cultures widely separated by time and geography. Where Freud saw the unconscious primarily as a repository of personal repressed material, Jung began to suspect something far grander, far more ancient at play. He was beginning to formulate his revolutionary concept of the collective unconscious. He proposed that beneath the personal unconscious lay a deeper, universal layer shared by all humanity. This collective unconscious, he theorized, was a psychic inheritance, a storehouse of latent memory traces from our ancestral past. It wasn't empty at birth, but contained pre-existent forms or archetypes, universal patterns of behavior, and imagery such as the hero, the mother, the wise old man, the shadow. These archetypes, Jung believed, were the psychic instincts that shaped our perceptions, organized our experiences, and manifested in our myths, dreams, and religious beliefs. This was a radical departure from Freud. To Freud, such ideas smacked of mysticism, a dangerous deviation from the scientific, empirically grounded approach he championed for psychoanalysis. The tension between them grew, fueled by theoretical disagreements, and perhaps by the inevitable complexities of their intense personal and professional relationship. Freud desired loyalty and adherence to his core tenets. Jung, driven by his own insatiable curiosity and intellectual honesty, felt compelled to follow his own path, even if it meant challenging the man he had once revered. The breaking point was approaching. Jung's 1912 book, Symbols of Transformation, originally Psychology of the Unconscious, openly diverged from Freudian theory, reinterpreting the fantasies of a young woman, Miss Miller, not primarily through the lens of repressed sexuality, but as expressions of archetypal themes and the unfolding of a universal human journey. It was a declaration of independence, a clear signal that Carl Jung was forging his own distinct path in depth psychology. The once close bond fractured. Letters became more strained, then ceased. By 1913, the break was complete, and it was a painful one for both men. Freud felt betrayed. Jung felt misunderstood and stifled. The rebellious psychologist had, in effect, challenged his king. But this painful rupture was also a liberation. It freed Carl Jung to fully develop his own unique and profound vision of the human psyche, a vision that would lead to the birth of analytical psychology. The quest for self-awareness and transformation was about to take a new, uncharted direction. The break with Freud in 1913 was more than just a professional disagreement. It plunged Carl Jung into a period of profound personal crisis and intense inner exploration. He described this time as a confrontation with the unconscious, a journey into the depths of his own psyche that was both terrifying and immensely creative. Stripped of the Freudian framework that had once guided him, he was forced to navigate by his own stars, to listen to the wisdom emerging from his own dreams, fantasies and visions. This difficult period, paradoxically, became the crucible in which analytical psychology was forged. Freed from the constraints of Freudian orthodoxy, Carl Jung began to systematically articulate his own school of thought. While Freud saw the unconscious mind primarily as a dark cellar of repressed desires and infantile conflicts, a view that offered powerful emotional intelligence lessons about our hidden motivations, Jung envisioned it as something far more complex and dynamic. He retained the concept of the personal unconscious, containing an individual's forgotten memories, repressed experiences, and subliminal perceptions. But his revolutionary insight was the existence of a deeper, transpersonal layer, the collective, unconscious. This wasn't just a theoretical construct. For Jung, it was an experiential reality, a vast, ancient landscape populated by archetypes. These archetypes, he explained, are not inherited ideas, but innate tendencies to experience and represent the world in certain universal patterns. Think of the hero archetype, compelling us towards courage and adventure, the great mother, embodying nurture and destruction, the wise old man, representing insight and meaning, or the trickster, challenging norms and revealing hidden truths. These are primordial images, blueprints for human experience, found embedded in the myths, fairy tales, religions, and dreams of every culture throughout history. They form the bedrock of human behavior and identity. One of the most crucial archetypes Jung identified, and one central to his process of shadow work psychology, is the shadow. The shadow represents the dark side of our personality, those aspects of ourselves that we repress, deny, or are ashamed of because they conflict with our conscious self-image and societal expectations. It contains our primitive instincts, our selfishness, our unacceptable desires. But Jung insisted the shadow is not purely negative. It also holds vital, instinctual energy, creativity, and undeveloped positive qualities. Confronting and integrating the shadow, he believed, was an essential and courageous step towards wholeness and genuine self-awareness and transformation. To deny it is to live a partial, inauthentic life. Another key concept Jung introduced was the persona, derived from the Latin word for an actor's mask. The persona is the social face we present to the world. It's the role we play, the dutiful employee, the loving parent, the confident leader. It's necessary for navigating social interactions. But Jung warned, problems arise when we over-identify with our persona, mistaking the mask for our true self. This can lead to a sense of emptiness, alienation, and a disconnection from our deeper, authentic nature. The journey of self-discovery involves recognizing the persona for what it is, a useful tool, but not the entirety of our being. At the heart of Jung's analytical psychology lies the concept of individuation. This, for Jung, was the ultimate goal of psychological development, a lifelong process of becoming a unique, whole, and integrated self. It's not about becoming perfect, but about becoming complete. Individuation involves differentiating oneself from the collective, withdrawing our projections, and integrating the conscious and unconscious aspects of our personality, including the persona, the shadow, and our connection to the collective unconscious and its archetypes. It is the journey towards realizing one's fullest potential, of living in accordance with one's true inner nature, or what Jung sometimes called the self, the unifying center of the psyche. This quest is fundamental to understanding why we do what we do at the deepest level. Jung also emphasized the importance of psychological types, introducing the concepts of introversion and extroversion, fundamental attitudes describing how individuals direct their psychic energy, either primarily inward towards their inner world or outward towards the external world. He further elaborated these with 4 functions: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. Understanding one's typological makeup, he believed, was crucial for self-understanding and for navigating relationships more effectively. These concepts have had a lasting impact, forming the basis for popular personality assessments still used today. This exploration into the depths of the psyche, this charting of inner continents, was revolutionary. It offered a more holistic, spiritually attuned, and ultimately more hopeful vision of human nature than many of its contemporaries. Carl Jung wasn't just a psychologist, he was a cartographer of the soul, providing a new map for those seeking meaning and wholeness in a rapidly changing world. The path Jung illuminated is one of courage, a willingness to look within, to confront what is hidden. If this journey into the architecture of the self resonates with you, if these questions stir something deep within your own understanding, acknowledge that stirring. Like this exploration, share it with others on their own paths, subscribe for more journeys into the mind, and let us know in the comments which of Carl Jung's ideas most powerfully connects with your own experience of self-discovery. Your engagement is a signal fire in the vast landscape of shared human consciousness. The seeds of rebellion sown by Carl Jung, his daring challenge to the Freudian establishment, did not wither on the vine. Instead, they blossomed into a rich and enduring intellectual tradition, Analytical Psychology, a school of thought, whose influence continues to permeate modern psychology, therapy, art, literature, spirituality, and our very understanding of human behavior and identity. Decades after his death in 1961, Jung's ideas resonate with a profound relevance, offering potent tools for self-discovery and self-awareness and transformation. One of the most direct and tangible legacies of Carl Jung is, of course, Jungian therapy, also known as analytical psychology in practice. This form of depth psychology diverges significantly from classical psychoanalysis in its aims and methods. While it also values the exploration of the unconscious mind, Jungian analysis is less focused on unearthing repressed childhood traumas as the sole cause of neurosis, and more oriented towards fostering the individual's unique journey of individuation. The Jungian therapist acts as a guide, helping the individual engage with the symbolic language of their unconscious, often through dream analysis, active imagination, a technique Jung developed for consciously interacting with unconscious contents, and the exploration of personal myths and complexes. The goal is not just to alleviate symptoms, but to facilitate a deeper connection with the self, that regulating center of the psyche, and to help integrate disparate parts of the personality, including the shadow. It's a process that encourages creative expression, spiritual exploration, and the courageous confrontation of one's own inner landscape. These emotional intelligence lessons learned in therapy can have a profound impact on a person's life. Beyond the consulting room, Jung's concepts have infused countless other fields. His theories of archetypes and the collective unconscious have provided a powerful lens for literary critics, art historians, and scholars of mythology and religion to understand the recurring themes, symbols, and narratives that define human culture. Why do certain stories captivate us across generations? Why do particular images hold such universal power? Jung offered a psychological framework for understanding these enduring patterns, suggesting they tap into the deepest structures of the human psyche. His work helps explain why we do what we do, not just as individuals, but as a species sharing a common psychic heritage. The concepts of introversion and extroversion, which Carl Jung first popularized, have become staples of personality psychology, influencing numerous typological instruments like the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI. Though it's important to note, the MBTI is a development and popularization, not a direct tool used by Jung himself in therapy. Nevertheless, his insights into psychological types have helped millions gain a better understanding of their own preferences and how they interact with others. The notion of shadow work psychology, the importance of acknowledging and integrating the darker, repressed aspects of our personality, has gained significant traction in contemporary self-help and spiritual circles. It speaks to a growing recognition that true growth requires facing our disowned parts, not just focusing on our strengths. This movement towards embracing wholeness, even its uncomfortable aspects, is a direct echo of Jung's emphasis on the integration of opposites as essential for individuation. Even fields like marketing and branding have, consciously or unconsciously, drawn upon Jungian archetypes to create resonant brand identities that tap into deep-seated human motivations and desires. The hero brand that promises empowerment, the sage brand that offers wisdom, the lover brand that evokes intimacy. These are all playing on archetypal energies that Jung identified. His influence extends to the burgeoning interest in spirituality outside of traditional religious institutions. Jung validated the importance of the numinous experience, the encounter with something sacred or transcendent, as a vital aspect of psychological health. He saw myth and ritual not as primitive superstitions, but as essential human attempts to connect with the deeper mysteries of existence. For many disillusioned with purely materialistic worldviews, Jung's psychology offers a path that honors both reason and the soul. This exploration of the unconscious mind, explained as a source of spiritual insight, remains a powerful draw. The legacy of Carl Jung is not that of a static monument, but of a living, evolving stream of thought. His willingness to engage with the irrational, the symbolic, and the spiritual, while still grounded in keen clinical observation, created a psychology that speaks to the whole person. He dared to look beyond the purely personal, to connect the individual psyche with the vast tapestry of human history and collective experience. His Real Psychology documentary of the soul continues to inspire, challenge, and guide those who seek a richer, deeper understanding of themselves and their place in the world. At the very heart of Carl Jung's analytical psychology lies a profound appreciation for the power of symbolism. For Jung, symbols were not mere arbitrary signs. They were the natural language of the unconscious, potent carriers of psychic energy and meaning that bridge the conscious and unconscious realms. He believed that through understanding symbols, particularly as they manifest in archetypes and dreams, we gain access to the deepest strata of our psyche and the collective wisdom of humanity. This exploration is key to self-discovery and unlocking the unconscious mind. Explained. Jung's concept of archetypes, as we've touched upon, is central to his understanding of symbolism. These are not specific, inherited images, but rather universal. Primordial patterns of behavior, thought, and imagery that reside in the collective unconscious. They are, in a sense, the psychic DNA of humankind, predispositions to experience and perceive the world in typical human ways. The mother archetype, for instance, doesn't just mean your personal mother. It encompasses the universal experience of nurturing, fertility, creation, and also the devouring or engulfing aspects of the maternal. These archetypes find expression in the characters of myths, the figures in our dreams, and the roles we unconsciously play out in our lives. Recognizing their influence is a crucial step in human behavior and identity formation and self-awareness and transformation. Some of the most prominent archetypes Jung discussed include the persona, the social mask we wear, the shadow, our repressed darker side, but also a source of vitality. Engaging in shadow work psychology means grappling with this, the anima in men, the inner feminine aspects, representing relatedness, emotion, and intuition, the animus in women, the inner masculine aspects, representing logic, assertiveness, and spirit, the wise old man, woman, representing wisdom, meaning, and guidance. The hero, embodying the drive for competence, overcoming obstacles, and achieving consciousness. Self, the central archetype of wholeness and order, the unifying principle of the psyche, often symbolized by mandalas or divine figures. The ultimate goal of individuation is to come into relationship with the self. These are not static categories, but dynamic energies that interact within the psyche. Understanding which archetypes are active in our lives can provide profound emotional intelligence lessons and insights into why we do what we do. Dreams. For Carl Jung, were the most accessible and frequent expressions of the unconscious, a direct line to both the personal and collective unconscious. Unlike Freud, who saw dreams primarily as disguised wish fulfillments rooted in repressed infantile desires, Jung viewed dreams as a natural, creative, and often compensatory function of the psyche. He believed dreams attempt to bring balance to our conscious attitudes, to offer perspectives we may be ignoring, and to guide us towards individuation. His approach to dream analysis was therefore less about decoding a fixed symbolic language and more about amplification. This involved exploring the dream's images and themes in the context of the dreamer's personal associations, but also by connecting them to universal symbolic meanings found in mythology, folklore, religion, and alchemy. What does this specific symbol mean to the dreamer? And what are its broader archetypal resonances? For example, a dream of flying might relate to a desire for freedom, personal, but also connect to the archetypal longing for transcendence or spiritual upliftment. Jung emphasized that symbols in dreams are often not trying to hide something, but to reveal something in the best way the unconscious knows how. They are often paradoxical, multivalent, and emotionally charged. A terrifying monster in a dream might represent a feared aspect of the shadow, but confronting it could unlock repressed energy and courage. A dream of a hidden treasure might symbolize undiscovered potentials within the self. He also paid close attention to dream series, believing that a sequence of dreams over time could reveal an ongoing psychological process, like chapters in a story of the soul's journey. The symbolism would evolve, reflecting the dreamer's progress in confronting conflicts, integrating new awareness, and moving towards wholeness. This real psychology documentary of the inner life, scripted by the unconscious itself, fascinated Jung. The power of symbolism for Jung extended far beyond dreams. He saw it in art, in rituals, in alchemical texts, which he interpreted as symbolic representations of psychological transformation, and in the synchronistic events that sometimes punctuate our lives, meaningful coincidences that seem to connect the inner psychic world with outer reality. He believed that by engaging with symbols, by contemplating their mystery and allowing them to work on us, we connect with the deeper layers of our being and the transpersonal dimension of existence. It is a way of speaking the soul's language, a vital path to understanding the forces that shape us and the potential for self-awareness and transformation that lies within. The world has changed dramatically since Carl Jung first charted the largely unexplored territories of the collective unconscious and the intricate pathways of individuation. Yet, in an age of rapid technological advancement, information overload, and often a profound sense of alienation and meaninglessness, his insights into the human psyche feel more pertinent, more urgently needed than ever before. Jung's legacy is not a relic of early 20th century thought. It is a living, breathing psychology that continues to offer invaluable guidance for navigating the complexities of modern life and the timeless quest for self-discovery. Jungian psychology today is a vibrant and evolving field. Institutes for Jungian training and analysis exist around the globe, producing new generations of therapists and analysts who continue to explore, refine, and apply his core concepts. They grapple with contemporary issues, eco-anxiety, societal trauma, the impact of digital culture on identity through the lens of analytical psychology, demonstrating the adaptability and enduring power of Jung's framework. His work provides a depth psychology explained not just for individual neurosis, but for understanding the psychological currents shaping our collective experience. The modern applications of Jung's ideas are remarkably diverse. His theories on archetypes continue to inform not only therapy and the arts, but also leadership development, organizational psychology, and even conflict resolution. Understanding the archetypal dynamics at play in a group or a societal conflict can offer new pathways for communication and understanding. The recognition of how unconscious projections influence relationships, a key Jungian insight, provides crucial emotional intelligence lessons for improving personal and professional interactions. The emphasis on shadow work psychology resonates powerfully in a culture increasingly aware of the dangers of unacknowledged bias, collective denial, and the destructive potential of repressed negativity. Jung's call to confront and integrate the shadow, both personally and collectively, offers a challenging but necessary path towards greater authenticity and responsibility. It's a call for self-awareness and transformation that extends beyond the individual to the very fabric of society. We are constantly learning why we do what we do, and Jung's work provides a map for the often uncomfortable truths. Moreover, in an era where many feel disconnected from traditional religious frameworks, yet yearn for a sense of meaning and purpose, Jung's psychology offers a unique bridge. He validated the human need for a spiritual dimension, for a connection to something larger than the ego, without prescribing a specific dogma. His exploration of symbols, myths, and the numinous experience provides a language for those seeking to understand their inner spiritual stirrings. The journey of individuation, as Jung conceived it, is inherently a spiritual quest, a path towards finding one's unique connection to the transcendent. The rise of interest in dream work, personal mythology, and narrative therapy also owes a debt to Carl Jung's pioneering exploration of dream analysis and the power of story in shaping human behavior and identity. His belief that our lives are, in a sense, lived narratives, and that understanding our personal myth can lead to profound healing and growth, continues to inspire therapeutic approaches that empower individuals to re-author their life stories. In more conscious and life-affirming ways, the challenge Carl Jung posed to Sigmund Freud was not just an intellectual spat, it was a pivotal moment that broadened the horizons of psychology immeasurably. He reminded us that the psyche is not just a mechanism to be fixed, but a vast, mysterious, and creative force to be engaged with. He championed the idea that within each of us lies an innate drive towards wholeness, a deep wisdom encoded in the unconscious mind, explained through its symbolic language. Carl Jung, the rebellious psychologist who dared to challenge Freud, ultimately gifted us a psychology that embraces complexity, honors mystery, and champions the lifelong journey towards becoming fully ourselves. His legacy is not just in the theories he developed, but in the enduring invitation he extended to each of us to explore the depths of our own being, to engage with the rich tapestry of the human spirit, and to embark on the courageous adventure of individuation. His map continues to unfold, guiding new generations in their search for meaning, wholeness, and a more profound understanding of what it means to be human. You've journeyed with us through the labyrinth of a revolutionary mind. Reached the supposed end of this exploration, or have you? The psyche, as Carl Jung revealed, is a realm without definitive borders, and its echoes linger long after the story is told. What you've encountered here, the shadow work, the whispers of archetypes, the call to individuation, these are not just concepts, they are seeds. If the depths we've touched today have stirred something within your own unconscious mind, a flicker of recognition, a question that now refuses to be silent, then the true journey has just begun. The most profound insights are rarely those we simply hear, they are those we begin to live. Follow that stirring. Our curated psychology playlist, linked in the description, offers further paths into the mysteries of human behavior and identity, more explorations of why we do what we do. But remember this, the most compelling landscapes, the most significant discoveries are not out there. They are within. Welcome to the ongoing dialogue with your own soul. See you in the next video.